So Ben's putting stroke on left to right putts was a little bit of a cut stroke, and on right to left putts was a little bit of an inside out draw stroke.
So we got my guest today live with Larry is none other than Brett Waldman. Brett, you're caddying. You've been on tour for how many years now?
This is my 20th season right now.
Short timer.
Are you a good teacher, Brett? Oh, Chuck.
Off is letting him know. You know, I think some people don't know possibly about you were a hell of a player, dude.
No, I wasn't. I wasn't that
Nationwide.
good. Yeah,
Well,
but
you played the Nationwide tour, dude. That's legit.
yeah.
So,
I did. I played. I gave it an effort.
Yeah, tell me about college, like junior golf, college golf, where you grew up and where you went to college.
Yeah, I grew up in Kansas City, Missouri, and
Okay.
played junior golf and everything in there, and played some AJGAs and a few things here and there around the country. But then I went to school to Kansas State for 3 years, and then I transferred to the University of Central Florida, and then I stayed in Florida and tried to play a little bit here and there, and then became a caddy and failed player. So here I am.
How many years did you play professionally?
Let's see. I played like 2.5 years, and then I went to caddy because I lost my sponsor because he lost his business, which means I lost my money, and then I went back in 2010 and got nationwide status that year and just missed getting my card by a few shots.
Really?
Yeah, because then I would have really kicked Charlie's ass and he would have really been disappointed. So.
So you were doing it for Charlie, really, huh?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly.
So tell me about your early years on tour. Who was your first bag that you had like a consistent bag for? Who'd you start out with, you'd say?
I started out with Tom Pernice when I was younger in college and stuff. I used to spend spring break and maybe a month in the Christmas break holiday time caddying for him just for fun and learning and kind of doing that, being around the best players in the world. And then him and I had a falling out. He was a little difficult on the course for me just starting to caddy. And then I worked 6.5 years for a guy by the name of Ben Crane, which I'm sure a lot of people know. And then I left Ben Crane. Go ahead.
Who'd you have wins with? Did you have some wins with Ben?
Yep. One with Ben, and then I went to Camilo, one with Camilo. Yeah. So kind of went on from there. But, yeah, so I left Ben to go work for Camilo in 2009. So then I worked for Camilo for 2009 and 2010, and then went to everybody was encouraging me to try to play. I was playing really good at the time, and they're like, oh, you need to go to Q school. You need to go to Q school. I'm like, whatever. But that was about it. So then I tried to do that, and, I made 3 of like 26 cuts, I think it was, or maybe 24 cuts. I can't remember how many events I played that year, so it wasn't very impressive. But, I gave it a shot. It was fun. It was worth it.
Dude, I mean, there's a lot of credibility, I think, to somebody if you're caddying, if you're a former player like yourself. I mean, that's just something you can't take away from experience-wise. How many guys are out there that you would say that are sort of from your background, from playing background, and actually fairly successful at some point?
I wish I knew the answer to that. I'm sure there's probably more than I actually think that there are that actually played, but there's definitely, a handful to more of, there could be up to 20 guys that have actually played at a level that I know there's like Andy Sanders played the web or whatever it was when he played it, but there's a few of us that actually played at that level. Like Travis Perkins played the tour. I want to say maybe there's Damon Green, obviously, some of those guys that actually got their card years ago and stuff. So, but yeah, there's definitely, go ahead.
Nick Jones was a college teammate of mine who caddies for Charles Howell. He's a good player. He Mondayed into a bunch of things and stuff like that. So
yeah,
it's useful, right?
Yeah, totally.
That's a good thing to hear. I didn't realize, like, I did a little looking up. I was like, God dang, dude, this guy was a flat out stick. Like, you got the ball in the hole pretty decent there.
That was all right.
So,
It's just a
who
mental
were some
case.
of your who were some of your mentors early on, Cat?
Some of my
Like who
mentors early on, like,
yeah, like who
fortunately,
took you under their wings?
yeah, as far as caddies,
Yeah, yeah, caddies.
oh, like, so let's see, I was in high school and I was working for a player by the name of J.C. Sneed, and that's where I met like Bruce Edwards and
Yeah.
those kind of guys, and they kind of showed me the ropes back then when I was in high school, so I knew all those guys all pretty well. But so I would say that generation of guys, and then when I came out, obviously I played, but I worked for Tom Pernice, and he was pretty OCD and anal about a lot of things, so I learned a lot. And
Yeah.
he was around VJ a lot and around Sevy a lot at the time, so there was a lot of knowledge out there for me to learn and to figure out how I wanted to work as a caddy and refine my craft.
Yeah. Was that a pretty tough crowd to hang around? Uh, Pernice and DJ and stuff like that?
Yeah, not really. I mean, actually, the toughest crowd to hang around is Chappell and Hoffman. I mean, Hoffman just wants to blast me 24/7, so that's probably the toughest crowd. Charlie just won't admit that he misses me, but that's okay.
you Now talk about that. You were with Charlie for how many years? You were with Charlie for a while.
I was with Charlie for 4 years.
4 years, four of the best years of your life, right?
4 of the best years of his career for sure, and of his life.
So, what did looking? I got a question. But looking back on all the, I mean, now you're with Zach, right?
No, currently I'm with Kevin Chappell.
Or Kevin, sorry.
Yeah.
Looking back on that now, B, what do you see what would you tell with the experience and knowledge you have now, and you were able to talk to your younger self when you were playing, what do you tell yourself?
Wow. You don't have to be that perfect all the time. I was always chasing perfection, whether it be the golf swing or always looking to hit the perfect shot all the time. And I would say that, that isn't necessarily the most important thing. The best players in the world, they just get in the hole. I mean, they're obviously super talented and extremely good, but they just get the ball in the hole. I mean, they have no fear, and that every part of their game is solid.
What do you feel in terms of? Do you feel like even when they're not going well, what do you see? Do you see them getting super technical? Like, hell, that would be me when I was playing. It was like I was trying to figure something out on every swing. What do you see with them when they're not going well, but they're still finding a way to make cuts, top 10 and stuff like that?
Well, I think that's different for each player and depends on what player you're asking about. But,
Yeah.
some guys are technical, some guys aren't technical. Some guys are just chasing a feel. Some guys are just trying to find their groove. Some guys have just had 2 weeks off, so they're trying to, see where their game's at, what motions, how their body's moving, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's different from player to player. That's, totally different. Like, I would say Justin Thomas may be a little more technical than Brooks Koepka, or,
I got you.
Charlie Hoffman's not technical. He's very feel oriented. I would say Chappell's a little more technical. It just differs from guy to guy.
Who do you see on tour, let's say over the last, as long as you've been out there, who's been the biggest underachiever you've seen, and who's had the most talent? In that sense also, who's had the most talent that you're like, dude, that guy really should have made it a lot bigger?
Wow. That's a tough one there.
Because, we see players, we're like, dude, that guy really should have made it, or that guy should have had more wins. Or
like who?
I think Charlie should have had way more wins.
Well, I told Charlie when I took the job, he's one of the biggest underachievers I've ever seen. I mean,
I think he should have won some majors already.
Yeah,
not that he doesn't have it still, but
he's a great ball striker, and he would probably be the first to admit that his wedging, short game, and putting is always what held him back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aaron Smith said Darren Angel. He's a local guy here in SoCal.
Yeah.
There's another guy that really, I think,
he could have been on. He could really play. I mean, Todd Dempsey that guy was a stud, but he was I don't know whatever happened to that guy. He was unbelievable.
Yeah.
You know.
I don't either. Um, those are guys like I always wonder. I'm like, man, like what held them back from really, you know? I mean, look, how many wins did Ben Crane have? I've heard many times from many coaches that are like, this guy probably has the least amount of talent, but the hardest amount of drive of anybody.
Yeah, Ben was a ultra competitive person.
Yeah.
He's very competitive. He had one area of his game that would just drive people crazy, and he would make every putt he looked at. And yeah, I can remember when I first started to go work for him. I'm like, this guy hits it terrible, but man, does he make everything.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then I feel like every guy I've ever worked for since can't make a putt.
He ruined you, dude.
Yeah, so I mean, that guy made so many putts; it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't like technically anything like fantastic. Was it just like you think it was more just his belief, you know?
I would say a lot of it was his belief. He had a system that he worked with. He videoed a lot. He did a lot with start line where he was aiming, kind of some basic fundamentals that were always being monitored on a daily basis, no matter what. So, but he was a great green reader, and, it was weird. Like when I worked for him for 6 years, I want to say 5 of the years he was at least within the top 3 in putting. And we read every putt together, and we did a lot of work together, a lot of reading and putt. I know Craig and Carl Welty helped him out a lot, as far as yeah. When I was with Ben, Craig was around, and he did a lot of work on his putting. So Ben's putting stroke on left to right putts was a little bit of a cut stroke, and on right to left putts was a little bit of an inside out draw stroke.
Come on.
Yeah. Totally, 100%.
That's interesting because I've been talking to some putting coaches and stuff like that. And they were talking about that, about the how they just adapt to it's not always like, okay, dude, let's just get it perfect, one stroke, and that there's more variability really in putting than we kind of think usually.
Sure, yeah. I mean, it's definitely an art, but I also think it's an art that is, I think you can become a great putter even if you aren't a great putter.
I hope so, because still.
I mean, mindset has a lot to do with it. The way you practice has a lot to do with it. Stuff like that.
What are some things that you saw that you like that you saw him Ben doing as a practice routine? Maybe we can give to some of the viewers and stuff like that. Some of the amateurs. What would you see that you feel comfortable sharing? Super voodoo.
Well, every morning he would have a putt that was one ball outside right from 6 feet, and have a straight putt, and then he would have one that was one ball outside left, so he could gauge his aimer for the day as to where he would need to be. And then if at any point in time during the round he felt like we were always charting the putts, whether right to lefts were missing high or they were missing low, and left to right's what they were doing. So there was always, at some point in time in the round, there was a pattern that was developing. So then it was, okay, well, what's the checklist? Is he aiming right? Is he aiming left? Is it, is the ball starting on line? Is the contact good? Are the reads just low that day? Sometimes you're just not reading it the same way you do on a daily basis, So there was always definitely tons of different variables that were checklist and worked on.
I've never heard of that.
He practiced green reading a lot. Like it was always like 9 holes to 18 holes a day reading putt. Like read it, putt it, video it, see where your aimer was, see online. I know Charlie does some of that with Derek Ueda, and so does Xander Schauffele. So I mean, that's all stuff that they got from the Welties. So
that's rad, dude. I've never heard of it that way. So,
yeah.
And for you guys to actually be like in competition, you guys were looking for patterns. So Dude, that is wild. So I mean, let's expand on that a little bit. So you're going around, and let's just say on the 6th hole, the pattern so far has been that he's under reading. So basically that.
Okay, no. So look at it like this. So say he's on the 6th hole, and he's had 3 right to left putts, and he's missed them all high.
Okay.
So then he's either going to be like, okay, well, I'm either reading them high that day, or I'm aiming high. So it's a matter of, okay, so let me throw this coin down. Am I aiming right at the coin? If I'm aiming properly, well, then I know that I'm just I'm seeing the read too high today. I'm reading right side dominant high, right side high versus, on level or left side high.
Would he have you stand behind, like in the middle, like on the seventh fairway or something like that, and he'll aim at something, and would you actually be like, yeah, dude,
Oh,
you've been aiming?
we would do it on the green, or there was a long period of time where I literally would aim every putt just to confirm with him. So yeah, for sure. I mean,
Wow, dude,
there
that's a
was a
nugget
lot. I
there.
mean, yeah. I mean, he was a slow player and a very diligent player. So he dotted all I's and crossed all T's, and that's just kind of the way he went about his business.
So Charlie loved playing with him. You're talking about then, right? With the speed of play.
Yeah, a lot. And I
Yeah.
think that would be a great question for Charlie if he's still listening to chime in on. But yeah,
I slow played Charlie in my first web event that I was making the cut in because I was broke in Boise,
yeah,
Idaho. I had no money left, and I Mondayed in, and I ended up staying at my wife's aunt's house that happened to live there, the only Filipino that lives in Eagle, Idaho, right?
yeah, yeah,
And I got paired with Charlie, and Charlie and I have been friends since we were kids. And dude, he was so pissed, and I was so nervous, and I just had to I just couldn't pull the trigger, and I made the cut, right?
yeah.
Charlie wasn't playing too hot that week, but
Well, that's probably why he was giving you a little more action.
I still apologize. Most times I see Charlie, dude, I'm really sorry, dude. I'm sorry about that round, dude. It was really
Yeah,
slow, I know. But the
yeah,
other thing I remember about that round was that his caddy lost his 9-iron during the round. Yeah,
that's amazing.
yeah.
That's amazing. Was this Caddy Miguel at the time?
No, it was it was an African American dude. I don't know who it was. This was like 2005 or something like that. And yeah, I don't know. It could have just been a caddy for the week or something like that. But yeah, he wasn't too pleased with them.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. I
So
hadn't heard that one.
yeah, yeah. I don't think it's too often that you hear a caddy in a tour event actually like lose a golf club. I don't know. Maybe you would know more than anybody, but
Yeah, I don't know that I've heard that one either.
yeah, I don't know. Charlie probably logged out because he would have commented on that.
I know caddies have gone to the wrong tee, and
Oh
you
boy.
know they've whiffed tee times in Vegas because they were out too late that night or whatever. But I
Whoops.
mean, there's definitely plenty of those kind of stories. But
Might be even a few players.
yeah, you know what? Probably,
Probably even a few players. Um,
probably.
what else have you seen? Sort of. I mean, I'm fascinated because you're inside and you see firsthand from some of the best players in the world. What other things do you see that they're working on, or like some cool drills that you've seen that you can kind of recall? I mean, that's a great one that you said about Ben Crane about kind of
Yeah.
adjusting his aim.
I mean, some of the guys work on shaping their shots certain directions depending on where the pin is. A lot of guys are doing a lot of work with wedges and stuff around the greens and into the greens. And I think that's why the guys that do that are really good wedge players, and they are able to save themselves when they need to when they're out of position. So, I mean, everyone does their own thing. So to say what are some of the things I've seen? I've seen so many things. It's hard
Yeah,
to just be like, oh, well, he does this and he does that because
yeah,
everyone
yeah,
does different stuff. And it's a lot of it is, well, what does their instructor want them to work on?
yeah. How often do you sit in with one of your players and their teacher during a lesson, like say off tour weeks? Do you do that at all?
Off tour weeks?
Yeah,
Yeah, and I mean, it'd be occasionally depending on the time of year, if it was before a major, if it was absolutely necessary, or if it was in the off season. He's like, come out for a couple days or a few days early so we can practice and get ready. But during an off week, yeah, that's not very common. But during the tournament week, yeah, that's obviously very common.
and how much is the coach relying on you for what you see?
Well, I think that's a little bit of a coach dependent thing as well. Like,
Yeah,
um, I think because I've played and I know a lot about the swing and the game. I think coaches are, at least everyone I've worked with, has always asked my opinion or wanted to know what I see out there or what I thought.
yeah. That's what I was talking about earlier. About I think it's a huge advantage you being a player and obviously knowing as much as you know. That's got to be a huge bonus in my eyes, at least, to having you on the bag.
I mean, I would like to think so myself, but I don't know that everyone thinks that way.
Well,
Everyone's different.
all that matters is what you and I think, obviously, dude. We're the only two
Sure,
on here.
sure, sure. I mean, some guys just have their friends on the bag, and that works for them. But
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Who's the hardest worker you've ever worked for?
Oh man, hardest worker. I mean, phew. Pernice worked hard. Vajegas worked hard. Hoffman worked pretty hard. Not
We
as
can say
hard
if
as
he's not here.
not as hard as he should, but he always had like a plan.
Yeah.
Kyle Stanley was a hard worker.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, most of the guys they're there for a reason because they work hard and that's how they've gotten there. I mean, there's not really many guys that are, just so talented that they can just show up every week and not practice and win. So, I mean, they're the best players in the world for a reason. You better work at your craft.
Yeah. Taylor asked you, can you teach me how to putt better?
Nah, her dad will teach her.
If you guys got any questions for Brent, please feel free to ask.
All nine people that are following.
Yeah, dude. What's up, bro?
Hey, I don't know. I guess either I'm not that popular or you're not that popular. I don't know.
We're both unpopular.
It's probably me.
It's going on YouTube anyways, so don't worry about it. So let me ask you this. What would you this is the question that I had asked. What would you obviously you caddy in pro-ams and stuff like that. I'm sure that's your favorite. What do you find with most amateurs that a caddy like yourself could actually help them out? Because I truly believe you just giving advice to a player would lower their score more than me sitting there and working on their swing. So what are some things that you see? Like, yeah, dude, amateurs typically always do this, or they end up here, or yardages are always short or long or whatever. What would you see? Sort of.
Most of the time, they all suck. To be real honest with you.
Yeah.
They all take themselves way too serious.
Okay, good.
There needs to be. I've always said that there needs to be a bar at the 1st and 10th tee for each at the pro-am, so these guys can have a cocktail and relax. So it's like, because once they get the drinks flowing, once they hit the concession stand, they're fine. But until then, they're like, oh my God, this is so-and-so or Charlie Hoffman or Dustin Johnson and blah, blah. I'm like, I kind of make a joke. I'm like, he puts his underwear on the same way you do, one leg at a time.
Yeah.
And they just kind of laugh and chuckle. But I don't know. I like to heckle the amateurs a little bit to kind of lighten up everything so they can have a little more fun, loosen them up. But usually they don't club themselves very well. It's always wrong. It's always short.
Yeah.
They're usually terrible chippers because they're all shut-faced and they don't know how to, do any of that. And then you always have the guy that says he's a 4 handicapper and he's about a 16 and he takes himself way too serious and no one has fun. So
the whole ego clubbing and ego handicapping.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, I hit it 300 yards. And I'm like, where? Yeah.
300 feet? Yeah.
Yeah. But there's been some players we've had in groups that were amazing, like whether they were bad or really, really good. They're good people. They're fun to be around, and that happens a lot, really.
Yeah.
I mean, I've met a lot of really good friends of mine playing in pro-ams that are still friends. I mean, it's pretty, you meet a lot of people, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who do you tend to hang out with, like caddies that that are your boys that you go around with a lot on tour still?
Yeah, I kind of hang out with Joe Griner a lot. I hang out with Austin Kaiser. That's Schauffele.
Okay.
Griner's Homa's caddy. Brennan Little, Gary Woodland's caddy. Billy Spencer's Kramer Haycock's caddy. I mean, I have a few guys, but I've been out there long enough that I've met a lot of people through all the years and some friends, and I stay with some friends here and there, and it just depends, really.
Yeah. You still get nervous?
No.
Did you ever get nervous caddying?
I want to say I had to at some point in time get nervous, but I don't exactly remember. Yeah. But not really. Like
maybe early on?
Maybe, but I don't really recall a point where I was like, oh my God, I'm shitting my pants. But I would say that usually only happens on maybe 17 at TPC if it's blowing really hard. I mean, your butt puckers a little bit because you're hoping he hits a good shot, and on 12 at Augusta. But other than that, I'm not really nervous. I can't really I can't take the time to be nervous, because if my pro feels that I'm nervous, then I'm going to give off a bad energy. So
Yeah. You brought up a really good point there about those 2 holes. What other
yeah,
couple holes do you have on tour that you little pucker up getting yardages because of usually wind, right?
yeah, wind, or maybe the angle. If you're out of position, you got a different angle, but not really many, to be honest with
Yeah,
you. And I think that's just from being out there for so long and knowing the courses, and all, and having walked them so many times. You just kind of figure out, well, if to this pin we need to be over here, and how to manage everything properly in a way that's going to come across calming and as well as confident to the pro, to where he's going to be able to execute and do his best.
I got you. What are your views on reading the wind? What are some of your tips there in terms of? I think this would be useful for a lot of players. Um, like if you're trying to read the wind, like you hear about certain trees have a different little hang or something like that. How do you go about that? Are there any tips that you can give on that?
I mean, so pretty much wind comes from a certain direction, right?
Yeah,
You kind of know that at the beginning of the day. Now you have apps on your phone and all these wind stuff to tell you where the wind's going, and or coming from, and this and that. So I mean, you pretty much go by that, but you know it changes, and you get gust, and there's just some instances there are certain holes that, over all the years in time, that well, this plays a little longer when this wind, or plays shorter on that wind, or whatever. That's just knowledge over time. So um, you know just kind of really go by the directional of the wind direction, or the wind map, really.
yeah. You just
And
go
then,
by wind map.
yeah, and then if it changes, then say it's a northeast, and then all of a sudden it starts moving to the east when it said it's going to move to the west.
Yeah,
You just adjust as it goes along, because you're going to be able to feel it. You're going to be able to see it, and you know if you're paying attention to a lot of what's going on. If you're playing a northeast wind and it says it's going to come out of the west, but then it's more out of the east and it's more right to left, well, you just
you
make
go
that adjust.
adjust.
Yeah, you go adjust, and then you just keep checking as you go along to see where it's coming from, if it's still coming from the same direction.
Gotcha.
Look at that.
Um,
You got Dana Dahlquist to join today.
oh yeah, dude.
Big
All
time
those
D.
hairs on point.
Yeah, well, just got a haircut, so.
Hey, you're lucky, dude. We can't even get haircuts here in LA, dude. Everything's shut down.
Yeah, that's why I don't live in LA. I love it
Yeah.
out there, but I don't. Yeah. You guys can't even play golf there either right now, can you?
No, there's certain cities somehow magically you can play golf.
Yeah, we can
Yeah.
play golf here in Dallas still.
Can you?
Yeah. Yeah.
They raise the pin or the holes and all that stuff where you
A
guys
few
are?
places I've played, they have like some extra cups on the inside, so the ball barely goes in the hole. But yeah,
Yeah, I got you.
yeah.
Um, what's your favorite barbecue place on tour?
Wow. I don't know. I grew up in Kansas City. Kansas City, we got great barbecue there. So to me,
Name a
like
spot, dude. If I'm rolling through, where am I going?
in Kansas City,
Yeah.
Oklahoma Joe's or Gates Barbecue, probably. Arthur
Okay.
Bryant's is legendary. I mean,
Yeah,
there's quite a few really good barbecue places there.
that's a solid one.
Yeah.
Favorite tournament or course on tour you like having it?
Favorite course? Well, I mean, it's hard not to say Augusta, but I mean Riviera is right up there. It's by far one of my favorite places. I love everything about the golf course. I
Yep,
don't
same here.
I don't love a few of the new green designs that they did, but I still one of my favorite shot making golf courses. I would say I favor a shot maker's course. It's a little more traditional, old school.
What do you think of number 8 there at Riv? You
Number
like it
eight at Riv.
or the split fairway?
I have no problem with the split fairway. I mean, I've been fortunate enough that each player I've worked for has been long enough to clear the bunker on the left, so I've always gone down the left, which makes the hole much more accessible. But I would say probably a lot of guys that are out here now didn't play the hole when it was just down the left and there was trees on both sides and it was hard as hell.
Yeah, dude.
I mean, it was really hard. I mean, I think we hit like a 2-iron and a 6-iron, or 2-iron and a 7-iron into that green.
Yeah. I kind of like it I liked it that way, but I guess the way it is now is actually technically the way it was originally built.
That's what they say. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, it doesn't get better than that 10th hole and that 6th hole. I
Dude.
mean,
Do you think
you know,
10 is almost impossible now? Or not impossible, but I mean, is it getting almost to the point, B, like it's a little bit Mickey Mouse-ish with that green?
I mean, to a degree, yes, because when that hole was designed, it wasn't designed for green speeds that we have today.
Yeah.
That's kind of the same. As like at Augusta, they're over all the years they're flattening the greens because green speeds keep getting faster, and the course wasn't really designed for green speeds of that fast. So
Yeah.
that's. But I mean, it's a difficult hole. There's really about one place, and it's about 10 foot by 10 foot wide where you want to leave the ball, and that still isn't, the greatest place to hang out.
What's the play there? What do you guys do? What do you guys do this year?
Just try to hit it just on the front edge of the green or long and left. Anything left, you can make four.
Yeah.
You got to keep it out of the front right bunker. Laying up is no bargain. I've seen too many guys hit it in the bunker after laying up, and
Yeah.
just it's a nightmare. It's just a really hard golf hole, and if you make 4 fours for the week, you're going to be really happy. I mean, that's just the facts. It's
the easiest par 5 you might play.
the easiest. No, the easiest par 5 we play is the first hole. and then you go to the second hole, which probably plays a stroke out, at least a half a stroke, if not 3/4 of a stroke harder than the first hole. So
yeah, dude.
Yeah.
That course is rad. It's right in front of you.
Yeah.
I mean? It's stood the test of time.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, someone's going to shoot 7 or 8 under one of the days, or maybe 2 of the days, but same score wins every year.
Yeah. What do
if
you
you
think
shoot.
about Torrey?
What do I think about Torrey?
Yeah.
I love old Torrey. I think new Torrey's greens are just a little bit too much, but I mean, I like it there.
Yeah.
I enjoy it. I think it's really hard. But I wasn't there this year, so I know they added more tees for the U.S. Open and all that, so that'll be really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
But last time they had the U.S. Open there, they did a fantastic job, which is unusual for the USGA because they always seem to figure out how to screw it up.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with they're gonna be a little bit better now that and it has nothing to do with it, but just give a shout out to Jason Gore, because Jason Gore now works at the USGA.
Yeah. Jason's done a nice job with him, but
yeah.
I mean, they did a nice job at Pebble, but Pebble's kind of one of those places it's really kind of hard to screw up, and they did a nice job. But
yeah. Let's hope that we don't get any more of this. I mean, it just seems like the U.S. Opens out of all the majors is the one that always has some sort of controversy, right?
Lately, yeah. I mean, for as long as I can remember, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hear anything from
Sadly.
the PGA or the Augusta or
No, PGA is probably the most fair major we play.
Yeah.
And at least at Augusta, you know what you're getting every single time.
Yeah. You know where to hit it. There's no.
Yeah.
There's no. How many times have you been around Augusta?
Oh, like caddying, like total.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would say I've probably caddied in 12 or 15 at Augusta's, probably something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that or is it not as difficult as I think? Because we kind of know after all these years where to hit it, but is it still, even if you do hit it in the right spot, it's still tough to just get it around? I mean, I bet you could hit 18 greens or be in the center of 18 greens and still shoot over par real quick.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, because you're going to have those 60-footers that are going to be really almost impossible to two-putt all the time. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So what's the biggest caddy blunder you've had?
Oh, this is a good one. So we're at Honda on that's the 6th hole, which is a converted par 5 into a par 4. I'm working for Ben Crane at the time, and it's probably blowing 30 miles an hour.
Okay.
And we're at least one shot back on Saturday, or maybe even tied for the lead at the time, because I think we just birdied the par 3 before that. But so he hits his second shot. The pin's back left, so he hits his second shot in the bunker up there, and I obviously got to rake the bunker, and there's like this little trail. And I don't even know what I was thinking, but so I go in to rake the bunker, but I stand the bag up on the trail.
Okay.
Like, upright, like didn't lay it on its belly, stood it upright. Wind blows it over, the bag rolls down and goes in the water.
Oh, come on, dude.
No, goes in the water. I'm thinking, oh, shit, this isn't going to be good. I mean, I watched it. It was like the biggest slow motion thing ever going down the hill. I'm like, yeah, that's not going to be good. So then I go down there, and I'm like, I'm going to have to either get in the water to get this out, or I don't know what I'm going to do. But, like, trying to pull it out of the water, at first I couldn't budge it because the whole belly was full of water.
No.
Yes. So it was only on one side. So luckily I had an extra towel, and all the gloves were on the side that was up in the air that didn't get wet. So I dumped all the water out, got to the next tee, cleaned everything out. I mean, Ben was great. Like, he was actually laughing, and then we birdied like 2 of the next 3 holes, and we were leading the golf tournament. So it was like, it was a blunder, but it could have gone a lot differently.
So everybody in the group saw this whole thing going down.
Yeah. So everybody called me Splash for a little while. So it was kind of funny. Yeah. Every time I'm there, I just kind of, when I get to the 6th hole, I just kind of give it a little chuckle. Like, yeah, that was a long time ago, but that was pretty damn funny.
That is pretty good, dude. You give it a little nod every time you see it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that. There was a question here by Rick Dowling. Something
Okay.
people don't know about being a PGA Tour caddy. What's a common misconception, or you think something people don't know?
It's still a job. It's a job like everyone else has a job. It's not glorified like everyone seems to outside world think. It's a great job. I enjoy it. I love it. I don't get to sightsee very much when I'm on the road because, time, it's pretty time consuming as far as time on someone else's time, depending on what the pro wants to do. But, I mean, that's
probably
it's,
that.
it's hard. I mean, you got to know a lot more than you think you need to know.
Yeah. Yep.
I would say that.
And I think also what they don't realize is, like, you guys got to pay your whole way, man. I think a lot of people think that the tour players pay for everything and stuff like that. It's, maybe a couple people, I don't even know if that's the case, but for the most part, these guys, they're out there week in, week out, the longest hours, and they're paying their way, just like the tour players paying their way too for the week. So
we pay all our own expenses, obviously, and then we get a salary for the week plus a percentage of the earnings. So it's basically glorified, legalized gambling is what we're doing.
Yeah, right.
So gambling on my pro every week that he's going to hit the jackpot, and I'm gonna make a couple $100,000.
Yeah.
So,
which it's happened a few times for you. It's been all right.
Yeah, I've done okay with that way. I've had quite a few wins. Very fortunate. Still waiting for that major, but couldn't get Charlie to cross that finish line.
Yeah, that's all right. Well, dude, I appreciate you taking the time, B, to sit down, kind of just give a little insight to all our viewers and people that are just always curious about, seeing the man on the bag.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me. I wish we could have got more than 7 to 10 people, but whatever, it happens.
There was a bunch of viewers. Don't worry about it. I appreciate you, brother. Stay safe.
Anytime. Thanks. Take care.
Okay, B. See you.
All right, bye.
Thanks for watching, everybody, the JRL Golf Academy. Please make sure to link and comment down below. Make sure you subscribe and turn on that little bell for notifications. And we look forward to seeing you on the next JRL Golf Academy.